Colin Livingston joins us once again. CL, how you doing?
My goodness, man. I walk away from the studio for 1 week. This place is up on its ear. This is crazy.
We got major renovation going
construction.
on.
DK's gone. We got Donovan in here today. Like, holy moly.
Dude, we got a safety meeting on Monday. That's how serious it is. Because it's going to be a hard hat area because they're doing all sorts of renovations. Pretty much most of the people will be working from home except on air people for the next 2 months.
You still have a studio at home, don't you?
Yeah, but I've been in studio.
I got PPE for you if you need it.
Yeah. So, you know what? Actually, before I got into radio, I worked at Sperry Sun. I was the I was the safety advisor. No joke. Because this is what I'm dating myself in the 1990s. There was a program. It was health, safety, and environment technology, and I actually got paid to go to school. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was 21 or 22, and I saw this on TV. I'm like, oh, I'll apply, and I got in. And so while you were in school, you got paid to go to school. So not only did you get all your books and everything, but then you actually got paid money to go because it was they were shortage. So they need to get all these people there. So then you'd work for 4 months. You'd go in school for 4 months, and then you'd work for 8. Then you go to school for 4, whatever. And so I got a job at Sperry Sun, and I still remember, like, they didn't really know what they were doing. They're hiring a safety person. And so, like, literally they had a fleet of, I don't know how many vehicles, 200 and some. And part of my job was I had to test the thread thickness of every tire to ensure that their tires weren't getting too worn down. Like, the worst. Like, I could just walk by and look at it, but oh my God, it was quite comical there for a while. But
I'd be disappointed if Connor isn't looking up memes right now of Homer Simpson telling people to safen up.
Yeah. Oh God. It was
that sounds like you maybe weren't as qualified as Homer.
No, probably not. No. So all the safety stuff, and you have to do like some, give presentations on safety. And I could just see the guys being like, what is this idiot doing? Right. Like, guys 15, 30 years in the industry, and some guy comes in, okay, you guys need to make sure you got your steel toe boots on all the time. Like, oh, it was the worst. So
it hasn't changed. We get the same indoctrination every plant site we go to.
It was classic. So F1, big weekend in F1. It was unpredictable for sure. You got teams in the top 10 that never finish in the top 10, heck, in the top 5. Yeah. For goodness sakes. And it's probably good for unpredictability, but what do you make of it? And like, should Mercedes be concerned? I guess would be my first question.
No, nobody should be concerned. It's race 1. There's so much rhetoric online from, I don't even want to chuck a particular pundit under the bus, but there's so much of, they're making this big deal out of Lewis's and Charles Leclerc's conversation with their engineers. And, oh, do these guys need to work on their communication? Hell yes, they have to work on their communication. Lewis has been in the car for a series of test days and 1 race. They don't know what each other wants yet in a race condition.
Yeah.
Putting a brand new car, and this isn't one team, this is the entire field. Their brand new car, they ran the test in Bahrain. They've never had it in the rain.
Yes.
They have no idea what these cars are doing. So no, this was a really oddball situation to have to go to race 1 in unknown conditions, in untested equipment like that. I don't think anyone's pushing the panic button. It was really tough, obviously, on the rookies. Hadjar crashed out, Bortoleto.
Well, Hadjar crashed out just in the formation lap.
But that underscores how, you cannot put into words how difficult it is to race in the rain unless you've actually raced in the rain.
Yeah.
So yes, he was on the formation lap, but it ain't easy. You're trying to get as much heat in the tires. You're not just cruising around and just, kind of pedaling the throttle and tiptoeing. You've got to do a combination of making sure that you stay on the track, but you still have to go through your pre-race checklist to make sure your car's ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, Alonso crashed, Carlos Sainz crashed, and Sainz crashed under caution because he wasn't expecting the torque shift of an upshift. He was under caution. He was just cruising around. He didn't do anything. It was just when he grabbed a higher gear, trying to bring the RPMs down, that the back tires spun. Once they get going, even an experienced driver, a race winner, and like a 3-time champion, still bend it.
Yeah. So it was. It was even it looked like for a while that McLaren was just going to run away with it. And then like the last 15 laps was quite a change.
Well, the late caution brought everything back together. You know, the Red Bull car is arguably not going to be as competitive, but Verstappen in the wet he's almost untouchable. Like, kudos to Lando Norris to be able to fend him off, because once he got within DRS, he was making significant gains. I mean, the closest I saw in the telemetry, he was within like 0.2 of a second. So he was right there. But again, when you're following another car and there's any amount of spray, you can't see. So you've got to, there's still, as much as you want to win the race, there's still a protective nature that your brain goes through to say, if I keep driving and this guy makes a mistake, it's over for me.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, great job by those guys up front. It was super entertaining race. But yeah, like let's not be too, the only guy I can really be critical of is my old buddy Skeletor for being such a belligerent, I know what words I want to use, but I'll just say codger. Like, as a Hajar, he bends it on the warm-up lap. He doesn't get to start his first Grand Prix. He's obviously overcome with emotion.
Yeah.
And Skeletor has to say, well, yeah, it was a bit embarrassing because we saw he had a little bit of a cry. Like, do you want your drivers to just not care? Or do you want to poke fun at them when they're at their absolute lowest? You contrast that with Mr. Hamilton, who saw what happened, seeks the kid out, has a quick conversation, basically saying like, look, you're going to have highs and lows. This isn't the end for you. And then even Lewis at the end of it sends him a text and says, look, my door's always open. You can come and talk to me anytime you like. To get that from, you have that contrast from a competitor who's trying to help nurture the next generation versus the guy that oversees the program saying, you're a bit of an embarrassment. Like, maybe not so critical on the young drivers there, Dr. Marco.
Yeah, it was an odd statement to put it politely, I would say. It's sticking with racing. Sad day for race fans. Eddie Jordan passed away.
Yeah.
He had a very aggressive form of prostate and bladder cancer. Unfortunately, we probably knew this was coming, but some of the younger people might not know him, but he was a real good driver, but also a pretty big personality in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, founded Jordan Racing, eventually got in, like as a British Formula 3 team, got into Formula 1. He was actually the one that hired Michael Schumacher into the series. Countless
pretty good
drivers.
Decision.
Looking back, yeah, I mean, that Schumacher, I think he was going to turn into something. Had so many great drivers over the years, but more than anything, he was just like a larger than life personality. He was always entertaining, didn't shy away from controversy, but also didn't make a career trying to step on the backs of other people, especially when he became a commentator and a pundit. He would pretty much call it the way he saw it, but didn't take a lot of obvious swipes like some of the people that are involved now that tend to make the soundbite just so they have something to say and sound controversial. Without question, the sport won't be the same without him.
Looking at a few other things, what did you make of Nicole Harvda? Is it Harvda? Havra?
I could have said it if you didn't ask. Haverda,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, a really, really cool story because I've known Nicole since she was probably, 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
Got to meet her at one of my first US races. So we were actually, pseudo teammates under the same tent down in Tucson. She had only done a handful of go-kart races at the time. Really, really was struggling. And then she got one tip about trying to be a little bit more aggressive. And in the final, from what I remember, I mean, she drove from like 22nd to 9th or something like that, just by kind of taking no prisoners. Got to see her last year for the first time in a long time at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. She was running the F4 race out there while we were running Pinty. So we had a nice little catch up, but really cool. I mean, BC kid, going to be great to have a Canadian to cheer for in the F1 Academy. So the all female series, but she's also going to be doing, I can't remember what series. She's going to be running back in North America as well, full time. So she's going to be a very, very busy girl this year.
What about we talked about the rookies, but what about Kimi Antonelli? Yeah. Pretty impressed with his performance.
On another planet. We talked a couple weeks ago that it was my hope that Mercedes had done a proper job prepping him for the pressures of media and all the rest. And obviously, they've been running him in a lot of testing leading up to this year. But yeah, he didn't put a tire off. He didn't make a mistake, and ends up coming home fourth. Really, really impressive. Not all weekends are going to be like that, but to take a car you've never really driven in the wet against competition you've never had to stack up against, made this crazy pass on the back straightaway where he was on slicks, had to drive into the wet at almost 200 miles an hour and managed to get the car to keep control of the car, managed to make the corner. Going to be exciting.
First time in over 3 years that Max Verstappen hasn't held the lead in F1 standing. So we'll see how long that lasts. The other thing was the FIA introduced their tougher testing criteria, right, for the flex wings.
Yeah,
that's going to start this weekend in China. And but to me, probably the bigger thing with the FIA was their crackdown on driver speech.
Yeah.
And now you see the driver saying nothing except in their native tongue, which of course most people aren't speaking, so it's not going to be in the broadcast. And they're saying basically nothing. So you used to kind of get a sense of what the drivers are saying, and now they're saying nothing. And everyone's like, well, why are they saying nothing? Because your stupid rules is basically what they're saying.
It's half protest and half protectionist, because they don't want they can't. They're not listened to and they're not respected when these drivers, and this isn't just in Formula One, this is across every series that the FIA oversees. So this is, rally car, this is all the formulas. The drivers are saying, this is not right. You're threatening to penalize us for what comes over the radio in a race. That shouldn't be. You should be able to talk to your engineer the way you need to talk to your engineer, and vice versa. When the adrenaline's flowing and you've had a scare or you've had something threatening or even something thrilling happen, it's very common to let certain words fly. During a press conference, okay, I can see why you'd want to make sure that people aren't, saying certain words as they're being recorded, but that's almost understandable. But they've gone too far with it, and the penalties and the suspensions that they're proposing are ludicrous.
Yeah.
So I don't blame these guys. The problem I see is that the executive and the upper management of the FIA just don't really seem to care. They think that what they're doing is absolute, that everyone is going to fall in line, not considering the fallout or the consequence from your pre-race press conference having drivers saying yes, no. Even Fernando Alonso was being interviewed by Sky Sports last week leading up to Australia, and said something, the broadcaster was, I think it was Karun Chandok, who said, he was asking him questions like, look, you've obviously found this problem with the car. Do you think you've had this resolved? And Alonso said to him, I'm not telling you anything. I have to be here and I have to answer your questions, but I don't have to give away our information. So I'm just going to keep talking, and I'm just going to keep saying things until you ask me another question. He asked him another question. He's like, again, I'm not going to talk about that. We're here to race. We're going to do our very best, and that's what you're going to get. So I'm
only here so I don't get fined. We've seen that in other sports.
We're talking about practice.
Yeah. Oh, classic. Great stuff, Colton. We'll chat with you next Thursday.
I'll bring my hard hat and boots next week.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, safety first here.
You got
safety
it.
first at Sports 1440.